Pep Talk UK.
It's time!
Welcome to this week's edition of the Pep Talk UK Sports Podcast. This is the pod that some might say is the best around, in fact. Now, we've certainly got some interesting issues to discuss this week, and you do very well to find a more eclectic bunch of panellists on a sports show. My name's Mike H, I'm your host, and tonight I have with me our two regulars. Regular listeners will know these guys before the introductions are made. They are Frankie B, who is in London.
Oi, what's going on, Mike H?
Good evening, mate. I'm very good. We also are very lucky to have with us Pascal in Paris. Good evening.
Bonsoir, Michael. Bonsoir, Frankie B. Comment ça va, mes amis?
Great, thank you. Great, thank you, Pascal. Welcome back.
Merci.
Now, this week, I also have the great pleasure in introducing to the listeners our remaining two panellists. Both of these gentlemen are joining us for the very first time on the Pep Talk UK Sports Podcast. Now, I sincerely hope they're not too nervous because they're in very safe hands. In no particular order, we have Luton FC fan who's representing Boxing Luton tonight, JP. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. What on earth made you decide to come join us tonight?
I been in contact with one of the chaps who's basically a mutual friend of Linus Udofia, who boxes out of Luton, and he suggested I come on and see what you guys do, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Good. That's the attitude, JP. Thank you once again for joining us. Lastly, but by no means least, we have urban and grime music producer, the man whose work you've definitely heard already. If you're in any doubt, check out the intro music to this pod. It's featuring Murky H. Our final panellist this evening is Mr. Leon Vandol. Good evening.
How you doing? You alright? I'm
very good. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I'm good. It's just warm here today, and I'm just chilling with some ice.
Very nice. Now, you are, it's fair to say, one half of the UK production duo Street Made Innovators. Is that right?
Yeah, Streets Made Innovators, SMI. Carnage couldn't be here today, but I represent both of us.
And is it so, correct me if I'm wrong, is it right to say that you guys specialise in soul, jazz and funk music?
We just make music, really. Music, we don't classify it, the people classify it, so whatever the people see it as, and that's what it is.
What an answer.
Yeah, so really, yeah.
Great answer. Thank you for joining us. I hear on the grapevine that you're a Tottenham Hotspur fan.
Yeah. I'm a Tottenham Hotspur fan when we're winning.
Oh, good man. Well, they're few and far between on this show, so it's great to have you on.
Yeah.
Right, gents. Now it's time for some real talk on Pep Talk. Let's waste no more time and get straight into the football. We'll start with the first timers. We are 2 games into the Premier League season. JP, you been keeping up with the Premier League so far?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, it's hard to choose who's doing better than the other, but Man United look very strong starting off. I thought they were going to take a little bit of time to click, but they're doing really well so far. And Man City again blowing that team away on Saturday, and they've won again tonight. So I think it'll be between those two come the end of the season. Chelsea will be fall off, in my opinion.
It's still early days. Any outsiders that you think might give them a run for their money?
No, I'm not really sure. Arsenal have just done a fantastic crap start to a season again, so I can't see them pushing forward. And who else? We got Chelsea. Chelsea probably got away with a lot of the weekend. I think they might come unstuck somewhere through the season. It's hard to know. The manager, he's put his heart and soul into it, and you can see he didn't fall out with a few players later on in the season if things don't start going their way. So it's hard to know. I'd just say City and United would be enough to take. From what I've seen so far.
Liverpool, Tottenham, maybe? West Ham?
Nah, I'm not sure about West Ham. With Tottenham, I'm not sure West Ham played very well the other day, but Tottenham, don't know. We don't know. If they play as well as they played last season, they can definitely have a good run at it. But Liverpool probably be too inconsistent during the season.
Yeah. So your money would be on the trophy going to Manchester this season.
Yeah, I expect so. Yeah.
I don't think you'll find too many people to disagree with you, JP. Thank you for that. Now, Leon, let's move on to you. You are a Spurs fan. Reason to be optimistic?
Yeah, there's always. I mean, we've strengthened our squads, and the manager has ambition. I can't see that in Arsenal, and yeah, that's it basically. I'm looking forward to it, but ups and downs of Tottenham. You can never put your money on them, really.
No, there's a big matchup this weekend, this Saturday, 12:30 kickoff. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, with Liverpool.
Tottenham host Liverpool at 12:30 on Saturday. What would you expect out of that game?
It's going to be end to end. I'm sure it's going to be a good match, and yeah, I think it'll probably be a draw. To be honest with you, that's it really.
Would you be happy with a draw?
Yeah, Liverpool, a good side. Yeah.
I see, but let's go to the regulars. Pascal.
Oui.
Who do you think will be more disappointed not to get 3 points out of those two teams?
Michael, it's a very touchy subject because I do not like both teams.
Really?
I think they're both as rubbish as each other. Liverpool fans annoy the hell out of me and Tottenham fans even more. But I think for the sake of the podcast, I'll try and remain neutral. Okay, let's look at Liverpool. They played well against Arsenal. They lost against Burnley. They're now playing the Tottenham side. Liverpool tend to crank up the volume against better teams. So I expect Liverpool to try and emulate what they've done against Arsenal. But that's an interesting game for Liverpool because if they get another point in London, it will give them the motivation to beat other big London teams such as Chelsea and West Ham. So, I expect Liverpool to come quite aggressively and to win the game. But it all depends on how Tottenham decide to play. If Tottenham decide to play the high pressing game, the high tempo game, and if they score first and if they score second, I expect Liverpool to fold under pressure. But if Liverpool decide to control the game, to pass the game, we still have to test the defense of Tottenham. So far, they've done quite well. They've drawn against Everton, and they've also managed to win. But I expect it to be a very, very tough game. I don't think it'll be a draw. I think you'd either be a winner for Tottenham or winner for Liverpool.
Yeah, those are the only two other outcomes.
Yes.
I think I agree with you. I think it's very tight to call. Difficult one, but we'll certainly find out a lot about either team. Hugo Lloris, of course, won't be playing, and Liverpool need to bounce back after defeat to Burnley.
Bien sûr.
Now, speaking of Burnley will be at Stamford Bridge this Saturday. Frankie, do you see Burnley getting anything at Stamford Bridge?
Burnley are going to get smashed. Did you see the stats of the last game against Liverpool?
The 19% possession.
19%, the lowest ever in Premiership history. And they had only 2 shots on goal and they still won the game. Luck can only take you so far. I think Chelsea are going to set up. Chelsea don't give away much in terms of goals. And I can see Hazard, Hazard's going to be balling. I can see Diego Costa winding up the Burnley defence. And I can see goals. I can see goals for Chelsea. I think Chelsea are going to stick it to Burnley on Saturday.
Thank you, Frank. Sticking to Chelsea, I'd like to ask JP's opinion, please, because you're a newbie to the show. We spoke last week about Diego Costa and this new rule about any second player to walk over to a referee and talk to him will get a yellow card. Do you think that Diego Costa might receive a fair few red cards this season?
You know what, Diego Costa, I don't think he's ever actually had a red card in English football. When you consider some of the stuff he's been stuck in the middle of, I don't think he's ever actually had a red card, as long as he played for Chelsea. Phenomenal, isn't it?
I tell you. I think someone's been taking a few brown envelopes.
Yeah. What was it? Alan Shearer had committed something like 600 fouls before he ever got a yellow card or something in football or something. It was stat years ago. Some players just kind of get away with murder, really. But I actually thought when Costa turned up at Chelsea that he would have been you know, he would have had a couple of red cards a season, but it just hasn't gone that way. Not that he's not been in any, he's had his fair share of trouble. Now he's just gotten away with murder. But yeah, I reckon once he gets into the role, and if that new rule, yeah, that'll do for him, I think.
JP, do you know what I'd like to know? What I'd like to know is every time I watch Diego Costa, he always seems to be whispering sweet nothings into the ears of the centre backs that are marking him. I'd love to know what he's saying. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I just want to see Diego Costa in the octagon with Conor McGregor, so he can get bashed up once and for all.
That'd be good.
He'd probably be up for that too. He's a bit of a nut job, isn't he?
Michael, I've got my suspicions that Diego Costa tells the defenders that he has a bigger knob than theirs, you know, and that can wind up any man, you know. If you tell them you have a bigger knob than theirs, they're not happy about that.
We'll all have to make a better effort to lip read next time and see if they deduce anything. That's them. That's Chelsea. They're hosting Burnley. Just going to Arsenal. Arsenal played Leicester, as you guys will know. Somehow managed not to concede a penalty late on in that game. Does it just briefly on that past game? Does anyone think it wasn't a penalty? The Bellerin foul on Musa.
Definitely a penalty.
It was, wasn't it, Leon?
Yeah, it was a penalty, definitely.
You asking the questions to a Tottenham fan, Michael. It's obvious
that.
Well, you know, I would say, you know, it's a bit like the Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. You know, Bill Clinton said he didn't have sexual relations. In the end, we found out that she got a blowjob. It's the same thing, you know. At the time, the referee didn't see the foul. Is it a penalty? It is not a penalty. We now, you know, look at the video, and the video says, oh, well, perhaps it was a penalty. But, you know, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the game was a very bad game for Arsenal. You know, they should have made the better, account of themselves at Leicester, you know, knowing that they beat them last season with less a player in Kante, you know, with the team changing a little bit. I would have expected Arsenal to bounce back and to score a few goals, and it's not looking good for Arsenal, I'm afraid. You know, it's looking more and more pressure for Arsene Wenger and for the rest of the squad to perform, and they need to start scoring goals quickly because they are already 5 points behind the league leaders, and it's not looking good.
How do they get relegated?
Well, that remains to be seen.
In your dreams, mate. In your dreams.
Pascal, you never know. It might be a case of more brown envelopes being passed around.
Well, you know, Arsenal don't have any money to even buy ice cream. I don't think that any brown envelopes have been distributed. But, you know, I think to some extent, what's interesting about football is there's a lot of subjectivity, and perhaps the referee decided not to award a red card to Leicester because, you know, let's not forget the league has to be very well marketed. It has to be very well marketed across the world, and we don't want Arsenal to be out of the title race just yet. Okay. I think, you know, Arsenal will fold when they have to fold, and that'll be sometime in April next year.
Okay, well, look into this weekend. Arsenal will be away at Watford, who've recently signed Yunus Kabul. Frankie B, you what are you hoping for? Well, you're hoping for 3 points. You think it's going to be a straightforward win for Arsenal?
With Arsenal, is it ever straightforward? To be quite frank, I'm getting kind of bored of talking about Arsenal in terms of, you know, what they can achieve, what they're not doing. Look, for me with Arsenal, we've got to take it game by game, and we've got to hope for a miracle because the team is just all over the place. Like the manager is talking a load of crap about he has to pay 600 employees. When I heard that, I'm like, what? What's he been smoking?
Is it coming out of his pocket?
That's what he keeps saying, yeah. I must pay 600 employees.
Well, we'll see. I think we'll see. I mean, should Arsenal lose to Watford, I think they'll be calling for Wenger's head. Don't you?
Mate, we call for his head every single game that we lose, and the money men at the top are just happy to, you know, bring in the revenue and get top 4. That's all they're happy with. So it's just a case of deja vu.
Deja vu. Do you know what would be deja vu? JP, do you know what would be deja vu at Arsenal?
What would that be?
If Arsenal start to win a few games and then everyone loves Arsene Wenger.
We've been there before, mate.
We've been there a few times.
I think and this is no disrespect to Leicester, because last season was phenomenal, but Arsenal should have won that league last year.
Oh,
they should have won that league. They should have won it, and but the problem they had was that Leicester kept the last 10 or so games started nicking games 1-0. Mm-hmm. They're the only team that beat Leicester twice last year, but still couldn't pull them back and win the league. And all right, there was a big rush at the end, and they finished ahead of Tottenham in the last game of the season, etc., etc.
That was embarrassing.
But all said and done, if that was Jose Mourinho's team, they would have been out of sight. They would have beaten Chelsea or Leicester into the dust, and Wenger just failed. It was an epic fail. No disrespect to Leicester, but he should have won the league last year when everybody else was crap. Mm-hmm. Should have stunk.
Let's look at your. Sorry, guys. Let's look at one of JP's fancy teams for this year's Premier League title. City. They've taken maximum points so far. Somehow, they've got. They host West Ham on Sunday at 4 p.m. West Ham need the win. Frankie, do you think City will cruise to victory in that game?
Do you know what? In this particular game, I am saying West Ham are going to beat Man City. Right?
He's called it. You heard it.
Now, the reason why I say that is because, first of all, that stadium is fucking the bollocks, mate. Have you seen that stadium?
No, it's at City. It's at City, Frankie.
Oh shit! I've been smoking again.
Everyone's on it.
I'm telling you that.
Does it make a
West
difference?
Ham are going to win this game, all right?
At City.
At City. Because West Ham have got a lot of pacey players. West Ham have Payet, the top baller. And I think Guardiola, he's going to learn a few lessons. Like, he started the Premiership against fairly easy teams. And I think one of the games he's going to come unstuck and going to have to learn a lesson. And I'm saying that's going to be the game this weekend.
I think it'll be a big game.
Fair point, yeah.
Yeah, fair point. Now, some big games coming up, but don't forget, fellas, that we've got a 12-day break after this third round of fixtures for the international break. Some people call it pointless. Would you call it pointless, Pascal, the international break at this stage in the season?
Very pointless. You know, we've already had the Euros, we've had the Olympic Games. You know, who gives the monkeys about international football? You know, we just want to get on with the domestic campaign. But perhaps for Arsenal it'll be good because their players can be rested even more, and we'll also be interested to see how Sam Allardyce takes charge of his first game in charge of the England team. You know,
sorry to interrupt, Pascal. Don't you think it'd be good for Jack Wilshere more rest?
Well, Jack Wilshere needs to rest, of course. You know, he has the bone structure of a 12-year-old. You know, he's always breaking his bones. So I think he needs to drink more calcium and rest a bit. But you know, it'll be interesting. I'm interesting to see the tactic that Sam Allardyce will be bringing forward. So, you know, by this stage of the campaign, there's a lot of anxious, fans out there who are keen to see how their domestic team will perform. So I think it's a bit premature, if I'm honest with you.
Just sticking to England, and I'd like to ask Leon this question, please, as a Spurs fan. Would you agree that if there's only one manager in the world who would probably pick Jermaine Defoe in his England squad right now, and that's Sam Allardyce? Is that being harsh?
Yeah, it's been harsh. I think Jermaine Defoe's playing well. I think... I don't know. I really don't know what the problem with England is, to be honest with you. Sam Allardyce, I don't know whether he's going to fix it or not.
Fix it.
No, fix it. Yeah, I don't know whether he can fix the problem or not. But yeah, I don't know. I think whoever's playing well should be picked for the team. And unfortunately, I think Rooney should probably drop back into midfield or onto the bench. He's past it, mate.
I think Rooney needs a special bus pass now. He's like looking so elderly on the pitch.
Well, that's the England talk. Let's move back to the Premier League, if I may. There's a week left of this summer transfer window. There's lots of transfer talk, as you might expect. The main one, you might argue, is Joe Hart. Joe Hart, who was England national goalkeeper, starter for City. And there's now talk that he's going to move on because he's dropped down a pecking order at City. JP, I'm unsure if you're aware, there's talk of him possibly moving to Everton. Is there a future for Joe Hart at City? Does he move? Where does he move to?
He has to keep himself in contention for a team, so I think he'd have to leave if Bravo comes in, definitely, because he needs to be playing for England. But that said, Fraser Forster's a good goalkeeper, but if he wants to keep in contention for the England team, I think he needs to go to another club. I think, based on him being English over the last few years, he's gotten away with a few things, and now last season, he's had a whole year to be ready for the new manager coming in, and he did a few shockers last season, so I think he's only got himself to blame, but he needs a bigger club than Everton, I think, if he really wants to, because I think he's worth more than Everton Football Club, no disrespect to him.
Where does he go? Who's going to take him?
Abroad, maybe? I don't know. It's hard to know. Somewhere maybe in Spain or something, I don't know.
Pascal,
So
your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know, but I think he's bigger than Everton anyway.
Thank you,
My
JP.
thoughts. Michael, my thoughts are very much of that of JP. You know, I think that it's a bit harsh on Joe Hart, but it's a bit of a dose of reality. You know, let's be honest. We all of us, believe that Joe Hart still wasn't quite the world-class goalkeeper that England needed. You know, I watched the games during the Euros, and I'm sorry, but Joe Hart, was more predictable than a thief. You know, there were so many goals he was leaking. I expected him to put on some decent performances, and I just don't think that the defenders even have trust in Joe Hart. And I think Joe Hart eventually, people saw through the cracks. People saw that he wasn't quite a world-class goalkeeper that Man City need to win the league and to win the Champions League. And, Pep Guardiola is a no-nonsense manager. And he's got very, very big balls, as we discussed last week, and he's able to lay his balls on the table. And Joe Hart, I'm afraid, has to keep himself busy for the sake of the England team. He still has a very bright future ahead of him, and if he doesn't play, as a goalkeeper regularly, his confidence might even be hurt by it, and subsequently hurt, Allardyce in trying to rejuvenate the England squad. So I would expect Joe Hart to take a good opportunity at Everton. Everton are a good side. They are also in the process of, rejuvenating their team, investing into the squad. I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Pascal, for that. Leon, where on earth does Joe Hart go?
He goes to the bench. I don't really rate him, to be honest with you. I think he's overhyped, and to be honest with you, he might as well go to Spain. Everton is probably going to do him no justice. And that's it, really. Pep knows that he's not that good, so he wants to get rid of him. I don't know how good this Bravo guy is, but there you go. Yeah, I don't see why a goalkeeper needs to be that good with his feet. Anyway, it's not like he's a striker or something. But there you go.
Now, another piece of transfer speculation ongoing is that of Jose Font possibly moving to Manchester United from Southampton. Jose Mourinho is a big admirer. Frankie, do you think they need him?
Definitely, because Chris Smalling has got a rick in him. It doesn't matter if Mourinho's his coach and can try and improve him tactically. Chris Smalling has that rush of blood to the head every so often, and Jose Font is a tad more reliable, and plus he's Portuguese, which helps. So I see, I think it helps because Mourinho knows the player in and out. Jose Font has come off a successful Euro 2016 alongside Pepe, your favourite player. And I've watched a lot of Font, and I think he's quite solid. I think he's quite solid overall. I think he's more reliable than Chris Smalling or Phil Jones.
Thank you. Pascal, do you think Man United need another defender?
Well, Manchester United, I don't think they need another defender. But Jose Mourinho loves spending money. He reminds me of one of my French girlfriends, Sonia. Sonia, if you are listening, I'm glad we're not together anymore. But she used to take all my money, and go to the Champs-Élysées and spend so much. Well, how many Louis Vuitton bags do you need? I don't have no idea. And Jose Mourinho to me reminds me of a man that likes to buy defenders for the sake of defenders. But he's very shrewd. He knows what he's doing. United will undoubtedly be up there. They'll be competing for the highest level. and he's looking for a replacement in every aspect of the pitch, not just an average replacement, but a good replacement. And I have a feeling, as Frankie B said, that he doesn't have the confidence of Chris Smalling. Chris Smalling has his moments of lapse concentration, and he also can get himself sent off. And Fonte had a very good Euro. He's a European champion. I think he can play at the highest level. He's proven that recently. And Mourinho, he wants willing to give his countrymen a chance to play with Manchester, and he's looking for a dependable, player at the back. So I can see why Mourinho needs him. He's completely justified.
Now, sticking with centre-backs and teams needing centre-backs, I'm going to avoid the Arsenal fans on this one. JP, I'll come to you. Arsenal, it won't have escaped you that Arsenal are having trouble at centre-back. There is talk that Arsene Wenger is interested in plugging a hole with West Brom's Johnny Evans, who was purchased for £6 million by them. Arsenal have been quoted £25 million, if reports are correct. What are your views on that?
I think that's missing a decimal point, isn't it? 2.5 million, maybe. Jesus, Johnny Evans. If he's not good for Man United for a few years, how the hell is he going to be good enough for Arsenal? No way, absolutely not. The thing is, even if it was 2.5 million, would Arsenal ever spend the money? It's just, Jesus, it's just becoming a bit of a joke now. This year now will be 10 years since they moved into the Emirates, and I read somewhere the other day that Arsenal net spend £110 million. So you look at a £10 million a year on players since they moved into the Emirates. And that's probably as much as Man United spent on players this season, between Pogba and all that. It's just, really, Johnny Evans, Arsenal, what has the club become? Jesus Christ, no. Absolute bomb scare, brutal idea. 25 million would be a joke.
It would be, wouldn't it? Liam, what about you? Do you think, would you be happy as a Spurs fan if Johnny Evans went to Arsenal for 25 million?
He would.
Yeah, but I would. It's a higher chance of us beating them, innit? I don't really rate Johnny Evans. I don't know. I don't really follow him. And frankly, I want him to go to Arsenal because I think he's not that good. So yeah.
Do you know what? Let's just check. Let me check one thing. Johnny Evans' followers on Twitter. Let's see. Six followers.
You're joking.
No, I'm only taking the piss. Johnny Evans for Arsenal. What the hell is going on?
Oh,
next thing you know, Wenger's going to be signing Vince McMahon for Arsenal.
But you know, English players are overpriced. That's the thing.
But Johnny Evans, but Man United didn't want him. West Brom are trying to bar up the price. What is he going to do to improve Arsenal's team? I can't understand. You're going to take another team's cast-offs.
Arsenal should have signed Loic Remy. I think they should sign him. That'd be good.
That's a cast-off. That's another cast-off, but in a striking position.
He's a good player.
Well, I think they sort of signed Jermaine Defoe a few years ago as well, even from New Tottenham when he wasn't getting games. I wasn't sign him. It would be brilliant for Arsenal, Jermaine Defoe.
We'll see. There's a week left, as we said, of the transfer window. Personally, I'll be amazed. I know Wenger does this every transfer window, but I'll be amazed if this summer he doesn't make a big sign in the next week.
Mate, you've got to remember, he's got 600 employees to pay.
I know, but he has a defence that he needs to plug if he has any desire of making top four. So we'll see. Now, fellas, thank you very much for your comments on the football. We move on now to fighting, boxing, and UFC. It wouldn't be right not to mention the Olympic success enjoyed by so many Team GB athletes. In the fighting, we're talking specifically about Nicola Adams, Joshua Buatsi and Joe Joyce. They've all come away from Rio with Olympic medals, so massive congratulations to those individuals. Talking of the professional fighters now, American fighter JP, it won't have escaped your attention that Errol Spence Jr. has earned himself a fight with Kell Brook. And with it, a shot at the IBF welterweight belt following his knockout win over Leonard Bundu in Brooklyn on Sunday night. Errol Spence Jr. ended the contest with a big uppercut in the 6th round. He is now positioned as the mandatory challenger for Kell Brook. Kell Brook, of course, has moved up to middleweight, but he remains the IBF champion despite that decision. He fights on the 10th of September against Gennady Golovkin. It's too early for a date, of course, for the Errol Spence Jr. Title fight, but it's expected to be lined up sometime beginning of 2017. Errol Spence Jr., Leonard Bundu. JP, did you watch the fight?
Yeah, I just watched it last night, actually, yeah. He wasn't even at his best, but that's just the sign of such a good boxer. And he looks unstoppable, really, really good. He even had an off night. Early rounds didn't seem a lot from him, and then that shot, it was just phenomenal. So yeah, I've seen a few of his fights before, and he's the real deal. Yeah. I think it's hard to know what kind of crowd work we're going to get, because I think he will lose to Golovkin probably late in the rounds. So it's difficult to see how he fights against Spence, unless he vacates or something like that. Mm-hmm. I just can't see Kell Brook losing to Golovkin and then going and fighting Spence Jr. later. I'd say he'll have to have a few other fights in between. What do you guys think?
Pascal, what do you think?
Very good point. Let me just first address the Leonard Bundu and Errol Spence Jr. fight. Leonard Bundu is a very, very good fighter. He's never been knocked out before like this, so big credit to Errol Spence. But let's not forget, Leonard was 42 years of age, and, at that age in boxing, there's a lot of wear and tear on the body. But I think, Leonard will be, remembered as a good contender. We're never quite world class, but good at good European level and a decent amateur record. But Errol Spence, I'm excited about Errol Spence because, he's announced himself, I believe, as, one of the main boxers in the 147 division. It'll be a very good fight to see how he fares up against Brook, People are saying that Errol Spence is, the puncher boxer. He throws a lot of power punches. But it'll be interesting to see how he lasts over 12 rounds, and how he faces against, much more technical boxers who are able to move properly and to box properly. But I'm intrigued. I think he has a lot in his locker. There's plenty more to see from Errol Spence. He has not yet been tested very fully, but certainly he's made some very good statements against boxers that the likes of Thurman, for instance, went 12 rounds against. So, there will be some very interesting matchups, and believe you me, Errol Spence is one of the boxers that many boxers are wanting to avoid, particularly the Garcias of this world, even the Manny Pacquiaos of this world who probably would not want to fight him at this moment in time, he's on his way up, definitely. Maybe a bit too green for Pacquiao, but he's certainly a very, very good prospect.
For Frankie, did you get a chance to watch the fight on Sunday?
In all honesty, I didn't get a chance to watch much of it, but the highlights I did see Errol Spence look pretty impressive. He's a ring technician. He's supposedly be one of the next big things in boxing. And what I find interesting is the fact that he knocked out Bundu in 6 rounds, and the so-called future of boxing, Thurman, went to a decision with him over 12 rounds. So that for me speaks volumes about what Errol Spence is about. So if I was Keith Thurman, I'll stay well clear until Errol Spence has some form of marketing potential to, make him get a big paycheck, because this guy seems to have something.
I certainly agree with that. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, this weekend also saw UFC 202 in Las Vegas. I doubt it would have escaped your attention that Irishman Conor McGregor defeated American Nate Diaz by majority decision after what was a grueling encounter. I would say that despite the result, both of these are tough men. Did anyone get a chance to watch that fight?
JP, it's on you. The Irish contingent.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I loved it and hated watching that fight, because there was times during that fight that either of those fighters could have been pulled out of it, because in the third round McGregor was taking a hammering, and if it wasn't the biggest fight in UFC history, I'd say he could have been stopped then, and there was times when Diaz could have been pulled out of it as well. But it's probably the best fight I've ever watched in UFC.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I agree.
There was a little bit of running back from McGregor, but you know what? It's a bit like a boxer holding on to try and get through the last round. He's never been that deep in a fight before, and I think he just did what he had to. But even in the final round, he was giving shots to Diaz, and Diaz was just standing there, face covered in blood, just giving him the finger. It was like, geez, these guys are hard as nails. It was phenomenal, honestly. I said to Frankie, I'll never delete that off my TV box. I want to watch that again and again because it was just so worth watching. Best fight I've seen ever. UFC.
To both of them, really, classic. Genuinely. Now, did you agree with the majority of the decision, JP?
Yeah, because I think I was swayed a lot by the fact that McGregor put him down twice, I think in the first and second rounds. And from watching boxing, you always see that as being a massive thing. I don't know if it's such a big deal in terms of points on UFC, but for me, that kind of showed that he was bossing the fight to some extent. But the later round, I think Diaz came back and there was a few knees in the head that McGregor had to take, and you could see he was puffing. But I would have given it to McGregor based on the early rounds, yeah. But it was, if that ended up being a draw, I wouldn't have complained.
No, Pascal, what are your thoughts?
Well, Michael, I watched the fight. It was a very interesting fight because if you recall in the first time round, Diaz, put McGregor on the floor, submission style. Diaz has a very good jiu-jitsu style, and whereas McGregor is a very good stand-up fighter, and most of his knockouts have come from him standing up and remaining, as a stand-up fighter. And if you watch the fight, McGregor tried very, very, skillfully and carefully to not go on the ground, but he displayed some tremendous counter-punching ability, some tremendous power. Diaz has a very, as the heart of an Aztec and Mayan soldier, he kept on coming forward with his face full of blood, and he was taunting McGregor. There were instances where I felt McGregor was tiring, but I believe McGregor, as much as he probably doesn't want to admit it, took some very interesting Mayweather style, cautiousness, not engaging when necessary, retreating very carefully, using his footwork, and he understood that. So, sometimes defense is a very good skill to have in UFC, and it's not always about, punching and killing somebody.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you could see that McGregor was actually looking up at the clock to see the clock running down at times. Yeah. And what you said is right, Pascal, is that even in the early parts of the fight, when he put Diaz down, he didn't go to ground and tuck in him because he knew rightly. He learned from the first fight that if he got stuck on the ground, he was going to get tapped out. So I think maybe from that point of view, he fought a good fight.
Oui, bien sûr, I agree with you. I agree completely.
Do you know? I think the fight displayed two different sides. I think McGregor first of all showed a game plan. All right. Now, what I mean is, obviously he lost the first matchup, but this time round, I was really, really impressed with his game plan. The roundhouse kicks to the leg, slow down Diaz, which was working.
Yeah.
He was waiting for Diaz to throw the jab. He'd throw the overhand as a counter, and it worked to a T initially. The only fact is, because Diaz is such a tough son of a bitch, that is the reason why he didn't get him out there. But, it's brilliant because tactically I think McGregor got it spot on, and I think in terms of endurance, toughness and fitness, my gosh, Diaz, what a fighter.
And I think that, gentlemen, thank you for that. I think that's a good one to end the boxing on. Frankie B, Pascal, JP, Leon, I thank you very much, all of you. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves on the pod tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Merci.
Now, next up, gentlemen, is an interview conducted by our very own boxing correspondent Shaz Chowdhury, who caught up with the upcoming boxing prospect Ashley Dumetz at Miguel's gym in Brixton, to ask him a few questions from our very own panel.
I'm at Miguel's boxing gym, South London, today with Ashley Bailey Dumetz, and we're going to be interviewing him today for Pep Talk UK. Ashley, firstly, a warm welcome and thank you very much for coming down to have a chat with me.
How's it going? Yeah, nice to meet you. Shout out to everyone at Pep Talk UK.
Now, Ashley, let's get rid of the elephant in the room. You're a pro boxer. You've had 2 fights. The first was a loss. The second, I was fortunate to be ringside to watch you win on points. What went wrong with your first fight?
I think it was a case of, maybe being a little bit overwhelmed with making my debut, first pro fight. But possibly could have started a little bit quicker. But despite that, I feel that, I gave a decent account of myself, but maybe I could have started a little bit quicker. That's what I took from that fight.
And with your second fight, you seem to come out a lot quicker, a lot stronger, a lot faster. How did it feel to put that first win under your belt?
It felt really good because I felt as though I had like a massive chip on my shoulder after the first fight, and that was my motivation to go out there and show people like more of who I am.
Now, those that haven't heard of you or not know you at the moment, you go by a nickname. What's your nickname?
My nickname is Lionheart.
And you have a special guy in your corner, a bit of a secret or not so secret, Richard Williams. What's he like to have in your corner?
Richard Williams is excellent. He's got a very keen eye for detail, and he's constantly pushing me to improve certain aspects of my boxing. And yeah, I couldn't really ask for a better trainer in my corner.
I have some questions from the panel. Mike H wanted to know, how would you describe your boxing style?
I would say I'm a slick boxer puncher, and I like to apply pressure fighter as well.
Pascal had a very good question. He asked, how do you handle the pressure of training and being in the ring?
Well, I don't really feel the pressure as such. As long as I train hard in the gym, give 110%, that kind of takes the pressure away from fighting in the ring.
Pascal also wanted to know, what are your plans for the next 12 months?
To win all my up and coming fights.
Who are the boxers that you admire and try to aspire to be like? Now, that was a question from the host, Mike H.
I've got 3 that I can think off the top of my head. Bernard Hopkins, Floyd Mayweather, and Roy Jones Jr.
And who are you most like out of the 3 of them?
That's a good question. I would say I try to take a little bit from each of them and add it to myself.
What areas are you working hard on improving? And that's a question from Frankie B.
There's a lot of different areas. I would just say, just being more, starting faster, working on my combinations, my jab, all the basics, basically, just making them excellent.
Have you learned a lot from your 2 fights so far?
Yeah, I've learned a hell of a lot. I feel that it's been good going in at the deep end and not, fighting people that are coming to win is only going to work in my favour in the future.
I was first introduced to you by Tommy Dove at Dove Box Promotions, and he had a lot of good things to say about you. He was concerned that the first fight he had thrown you in at the deep end, but he felt that you acquitted yourself well and perhaps may have even won that first fight.
Yeah, I agree. I also agree. But what I did say, I reflected on that fight, and I felt that people only really saw like 5% of what I'm capable of doing. And I'm sure in the up and coming fights, I'll show a lot more of what I can do.
Pascal wanted to know how you prepare mentally for a big fight.
I tend to just do things that are not related to boxing, like I relax, chill out with my friends, family, go for a day out.
Now, there's a big fight on the horizon. Everyone's talking about it. Kell Brook and Triple G. Frankie B wanted to know what side of the fence you sat on. Do you reckon Kell Brook's going to do it, or is Triple G just going to be too strong?
Firstly, I would love for Kell Brook to win, but I just think the size difference, the power difference with the 10-ounce gloves on, Kell Brook's not used to taking middleweight punches, genuine middleweight punches with those gloves on. I think Triple G will win.
Have you been watching any of the Olympics, the boxing that's been going on? What do you think of it so far?
I haven't watched all of the fights, but I've watched Joshua Buatsi, who I know, and I think he's done really well. He deserves everything that that's come his way. And overall, yeah, I just think he's an excellent boxer and he's done really well.
Who do you rate as the current pound-for-pound king? Frankie B wanted to know the answer to that.
That's easy. Andre Ward's the pound-for-pound king right now.
Pascal asked, if you had to pick between Jackie Chan or Bruce Lee, who would it be?
Bruce Lee all day. He's the master, man. Bruce Lee.
Now, this is a question I ask at the end of all boxers. Are you into football, and if so, who do you support?
Yeah, I'm into football. I've been a gunner since 8 years old, so I'm an Arsenal supporter.
In all honesty, up until that point, I really liked you, Ashley. I've seen you fight. I like you, so I'm not going to argue with you. But no, man, not another Arsenal fan. I just wanted to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your training and your busy diary to come and let me interview you. And thank you very much for all the guys at Pep Talk UK.
Yeah, I also just want to add to that. Thank you to all the guys at Pep Talk UK and to all my fans and followers and all the social media. Anyone that's come to my fights and seen me, just look out for me and keep following.
Thank you very much, Ashley. You have a great day.
Thank you, Shaz. Okay, listeners, you've been listening to the Pep Talk UK Sports Podcast. I really hope you've enjoyed the discussion. I'm afraid that's our time up for another week, but make sure to listen in next week for Transfer Deadline Day talk. I'd like again to wish all our panelists and listeners a great bank holiday weekend. We will catch you next time.
Pep
Talk UK.
And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at peptalk_UK.